from me. Come on, I've got a praise on my lips, and I can't seem to resist. A praise that resounds all around. Got a praise and it's personal to me. It's a praise and it's tailored from me. He gives praise and it's tailored from me. Come on, I got on my lips, and I can't seem to resist. It's a praise that resounds all around. Personal to me. It's a praise and it's tailored from me. He gets the praise and it's tailored from me. Body but you see as my praise. All that's within me every day. Yahuwah, I praise. A praise and it's tailored from me. A praise and it's tailored from me. Nobody but you deserves my praise. All that's within me every day. Oh, Yahuwah, it's a high praise. It's a praise tailored from me. He gets the praise from me. Nobody but you needs the praise. Within me every day. Hello, Yahuwah, it's the praise. The praise and it's tailored from me. He gets the praise and it's tailored from me. I got a praise on my lips, and I can't sing this. It's a praise all around. I've got a praise, it's personal to me. It's a praise, and it's from me. He gets a praise, and it's tailored. Come on, I've got it on my lips, and I can't resist. Very down, you get the praise from me. He gets the praise and takes it from me. Come on, I've got a praise on my, and I can't seem to read it. It's a praise that resounds around. Praise and it's personal to me. You get the praise and it's tailored from me. He gets the and it's tailored from nobody but you deserves my praise. You get the praise and it's from me. Praise and it's tailored from me. Nobody deserves my praise. All that's me every day. Oh, Yahuwah, it's a high praise. It's a praise that loves me from me. He gives the praise that takes from me. But you see, there's my praise in me every day. About me and they love me from me. He gives the and they love me from me. A tailor praise. I got a tailor made just something for me to make praise. I got make praise. I got a tailor praise, and it's just for him. So let's praise. I got a tailor made praise. A tailor made praise. I got a tailor made praise. Just something for him. The praise begins. praise. My God, attend praise. God, attend praise. And it's custom, so let the praises in. I attend the make praise. I attend the make praise. I got to make praise for him. So it begins. I got to make praise. I got to make the praise begins. I got to praise him. Come on, Yahuwah. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Come on, he's worthy of all esteem. Praise him. Praise him, praise him, praise him. Worthy of all praise, he is worthy of all. We want to say welcome, welcome to our sorry, we had some internet going on, but we've gotten those fixed. Continue to pray for us as we continue to pray for you. I want to say Toda Abba Yahuwah for yet again allowing us to be here in this place to celebrate and commit a time of rest, a time that we from all our labors, a time that our hearts, our minds, and our but while we are resting, we want that we are feeding our ruach, our mind, with the very thing Yahuwah would have us to feast. So at this time, we're going to turn our attention to the scroll of Yahushua, chapter 1. And we're going to read verse 7, and then we're going to verse 8. And it is so. It is. All right. Everybody ready? Yes. Verse 7. Only you strong and very courageous that you do according to the Torah, which Moshe, all the Torah, which Moshe might you. Turn not from it or to the left, that you may prosper. Verse 8, as I have our time of personal confession. Didn't change anything but a time to confess it. Let us confess this together. Not let this scroll of the Torah, depart out of my mouth, but I shall meditate in it. Yom and Layla, that I may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then I shall be a neighbor, and then you shall act wisely. Then you shall act wisely. Look at your and you shall act wisely. And act wisely. Take your hand and place and say, Abba Yahuwah, I shall act wisely. I shall act wisely. Come on. Abba Yahuwah, I shall act wisely. I am determined to act wisely. I am determined to act wisely. One more time. I am determined to act wisely. And it is so. I am determined with every breath I take and with everything I do to act and to come wisely. Right. And so. All right, let us have another song. Be magnified, be magnified, be magnified, be magnified. Come on, be magnified, magnified, magnified. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. You are, you are. Be thou magnified. Come on, be magnified. 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 Be magnified. Be magnified. Magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in the temple. Thou magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Come on, be magnified. Magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this world. You are. Be magnified. You are. Be thou magnified. You are. Be thou magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. You are. Be thou magnified. 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 Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Be thou magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in the temple. You are. Be thou magnified. You are. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be thou magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Be thou magnified. 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 Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou magnified. Be thou Come on, praise him, praise him, praise him. Praise him, praise him, praise him. Praise is coming for the upright. Let's praise him because he's worthy. Worthy, worthy, worthy is our Savior. Worthy, worthy, worthy is our King. We do praise him for all things and for everything. And it is so. And it is so. Mishlei 15:8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful, and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Ayah 33:4. The Ruach of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Say it again. He is a life giver.
He is a life giver.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Micah 3:8. But truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yasharal his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
Excuse me. Tehillim 34:15. The eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17. The upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth us out of all our troubles. And it is so.
And it is so.
Masa 1:8. But truly I am full of power. But we shall receive power after that the Ruach has come upon us. And we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and all Judea and in Shamora and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
Just made it personal. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 1:1. Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah, and he doth meditate upon it. And it is so.
And it is so.
Ibram 11:6. But without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Yehukanan 2:5-6. And it reads, but whoever guards his Torah, truly the Ahab of Yahuwah has been perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. Verse 6, the one who says he lives in him ought himself also to walk, even as he walked. And it is so.
And it is so.
Yehukanan Aleph 5 chapter 5 verses 3-15. We always read this before any portion of our class begins. It is a foundation and a platform in which we believe and why we do what we do, why we study the way we study, why we go in hard as we do. Why? Because we are Hab Abba Yahuwah, and we know that this is our foundation. And without this foundation, we can't stand. It's right. Very important that we understand that. And so we do this all the time. Verse 3 reads, for this is the Ahab for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not difficult. Someone asked the question, how do we show the Abba that we Ahab him? By what? How do we show the Abba we Ahab him? We be obedient, but what did the verse just say? To do what? To guard. To guard means you protect, right?
Yes.
That means you protect it. There's more to just saying, I'm going to do this. You also have to protect what he has invested in you. He's invested in each one of us. What did he invest in us? His instructions. Right. And we have to guard them with everything that is in us. Once again, verse 3 says, for this is the Ahab for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not difficult. If you want to show him you Ahab him, guard his commands. Right. And where do we guard them? In our hearts. And it is so. Because everyone having been begotten of Yahuwah overcomes the world. And this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief. Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahush is the son of Yahuwah? This is the one that came by water and blood. Yahush Mashiach, not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Because there are three who bear witness, the Ruach and the water and the blood. And the three are in agreement. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater, because this is the witness of Yahuwah, which he has witnessed concerning his son. This is his son, and he is going to show the greatest witness above every and anybody else's witness. So if someone comes to you with a false witness, remember Yahuwah's witness trumps every other witness. But we have to believe that. And it is so.
And it is so.
Verse 10, the one who believes in the Son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar, because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his Son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us, eternal life. And this life is in his Son. He who possesses the Son possesses life. He who does not possess the Son of Yahuwah does not possess life. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting life. And so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. If anyone's, verse 15, I'm going to stop right there. And it is so.
And it is so.
Got caught up and got a little excited. And it is so.
And it is so.
Now, once again, very important. Verse 16 is very important also. All of it is important to us. But I always read enough for what is being spoken about. Very important for us to understand that we must keep his instructions regarding our lives at the helm, at the center of everything we do. We will not be able to make it if we don't maintain our walk and our consistency in him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, we have come to this portion where we're going to do our affirmation. Then from our affirmation, we're going to do our declaration. And then we're going to seal our praise, prayer, and worship with the writings. And we will move into part 2 of our class. And it is so.
And it is so.
Repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
I am Ibram.
I am Abram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Abram.
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah
in my ruach.
in my ruach.
That life is the Torah of Yasharal.
That life is the Torah of Yahshua.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahush,
Yahush,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's Ahab
Yahuwah's ahab
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching.
He is leading me.
He is leading.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach HaKodesh
The Ruach HaKodesh
of Yahuwah in me is leading me.
of Yahuwah in me is leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we will do our declaration of healing and shalom. Repeat with me, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
We subdue ignorance
We subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
and deliverance.
and deliverance.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people.
Yasharal.
Yahshua.
We unite
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
I declare a time of rest, shalom, and truth in Yahuwah through his son Yahush, our Mashiach, and it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, as we stand and bow before our King. Get some clothes. All right, let us bow before our King. And let us say this together. May the utterance of my mouth and the deliberation of my heart be desirable before you. O Yahuwah, my rock and my redeemer. May the utterance of my mouth and the deliberation of my heart be desirable before you. O Yahuwah, my rock and my redeemer. And it is so. We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 14, and it is so. You may be seated in his presence. Once again, we are excited. Though we had a delay, this yam, had a delay because our internet was acting up, and 9 times out of 10, it was due to, I'm sure everyone knows about the tragedy that took place in, where was it, Switzerland?
Yes.
In Switzerland. And so anytime you see people that do not value life and then post it, they were scrambling trying to get these things where it would not go global. And I believe this is why the internet is still kind of acting up on different points. Social media was acting up for 2 days, I believe. Instagram, Facebook, and the social medias were slow, and where we couldn't really post and connect. But even the internet, because I'm sure they're trying to weed those things out. And so this is something that we must be concerned about, because people are crazy. And it's important for us to always be alert and always be prayerful before we leave our homes, before you leave your place of employment, and before you go. Always ask the Abba to guide you and protect you. Right. I know he is going to protect us, but we also need to pray. We also need to pray and cover ourselves and cover our mishpachah. Right. And when I say mishpachah, I'm talking about not just our immediate mishpachah, but our nation mishpachah. We need to cover one another and pray the hand and the protection of Abba Yahuwah would keep us and go with us and go before us, so that we will not find ourselves in situations of that caliber. Once again, I want to say Baruch Atah to those of you that thought it not robbery to tune in with us, though we're getting started later than usual. Once again, due to the lack of our internet being available unto us, we are here and we're going to move forward on this Yom, as we always do. We always have a theme, and we always start. Now, I'm going to read, because we're in Shemot, and that is also in the English, the book of Exodus. And so I'm going to read you a little footnote concerning the scroll of Shemot, also in the English as Exodus, because this is where we will be turning into for the next couple of weeks. This will be our next subject, where we'll be getting our subjects out of Shema, the entire chapter or the entire scroll of Shema. The book of Shema tells the story of how the Mishpachah of Yaakov became a great nation. The scroll tells of the Yashraelites' enslavement and subsequent deliverance with the 10 plagues by the hand of Yahuwah. Moshe leads the people out of Mitzrayim, crossing the Reed Sea. They arrive at Sinai, where they receive the Torah. While Moshe is on the mountain, the people worship a golden calf. The remainder of the book describes the details and construction of the Mishkan, which is the tabernacle. There are 40 chapters of Shema divided into 11 weekly readings. So for 11 weeks, we will be covering the entire scroll of Shema. And this is how we get our Sabbath readings and our Sabbath subjects. And so Shemot, which means names. So in the chapter beginning with chapter 1 all the way to chapter 6, we will be learning about the names, and we'll be looking at the lifestyle Yaakov, and we'll be looking at the very things that the Abba has done in their lives. One thing that is so important as we read and as we take on this, always a wonderful journey and always exciting to read and to acclimate ourselves concerning these things, which I know a lot of times people read or tend to get to a point in their lives and they say, man, we've gone over that before. Why we got to go over that again? Seem like we're just being redundant. It's not redundancy. It is repetition. And the more we acclimate ourselves concerning the victories and even the downfall of our people, I believe with all my heart, it prepares us so that we will not make the same mistakes or continue to make the same mistakes that they made. As many of us are coming into truth, some have been in truth longer than others. It is still very important that we do what? Purpose to develop our ruach. I believe there are, just as the writings tell us, higher heights and deeper depths in the Abba. And if we don't seek to know those depths, and if we don't seek to know those heights, we will never find those heights. You got to prove yourself to be committed. And by proving ourselves to be committed to him, and not because we're trying to escape terror, and not because we're trying to escape this, that, and the other, but because we know this is our way of life, and because he is our Abba, and because we have him, we'll find ourselves doing things from a different point of view. Whenever a person does something for you out of an obligation, it's not really out of a hub. Because once they get tired, the obligation will begin to be far few and between. Because if we ever do stuff out of an obligation, when a person gets on our nerves, we'll stop doing it. When a person makes us angry, we will stop doing it, or we will lose the enjoyment of doing it. So whenever we do something, it should never be out of an obligation, but out because we ahab him, and because we ahab the persons or person we are doing it for. This is very important for us to understand. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important. And so with that being said, we're going to learn the names and we're going to go back over these things. Why? Because this helps to build our relationship with the Abba, and it also helps us to see him, because no matter how many times we read the writings, you're going to always find something else in there that you missed the fourth or fifth time you read through it. So we should never ever get to a point where we get tired and we become bored with reading and hearing the great things that he desires to show us through his writings. You know, one thing I found out, and we're getting ready to go into Shemot chapter 1, is that when you deal with other people and their way of life, one of the things that remains consistent with them is they never get tired of doing what they're doing. That's why when you go to them, you got to go with them. You got to be ready. You just can't go to them, surface. You got to go to them knowing and confident in who you're serving, because if not, they'll tear you to pieces. It's important that we understand that. So it's important that we bear that confidence, and guess what? That excitement about who we serve. Because once again, he is all power. He is all knowing.
That's right.
And there is none beside him. Watch this, except his son, Yahushua Mashiach.
That's right.
So it's important that we understand that. And
Yes.
it is so.
And it is so.
All right, Shemot chapter 1. And we're going to read 9 verses, beginning at chapter 1 and verse 1. Once again, Shemot meaning name. So we're going to learn the names. And when we left off in Bereshit chapter 49, as the Baruch was being given out, as Yaakov took his last breath, he spoke over the lives of his sons. And not only did he speak and tell them who they were and what they were going to become, watch this, and what their nation would become through them, he also gave them instructions on how to live. Right. So it's important that we understand that we have instructions on how we are to govern ourselves. It's just that we have to follow those instructions, right, and not be deterred by something someone says, or by a quote unquote new revelation, but by what he has given unto us. Nothing that Abba Yahuwah gives to us or shows us ever becomes stale. Right. It never becomes stale. And that's one of the mentalities that we must have. Ever, never, never does anything he say to us or give to us become old, outdated, or become stale. It's important that we understand that. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, chapter 1, verse 1, and we're going to read 9 verses. 120.
Now these are the names of the children of Yasharal, which came to Mizraim. Each man in his household came with Yaakov. Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All those who were descendants of Yaakov were 70 persons, for Joseph was in Mizraim already. And Joseph died, and all his brothers and all that generation. And the children of Yasharal were fruitful and increased abundantly, multiplied, and grew exceedingly mightily, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Mizraim, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, look, the people of the children of Yasharal are more and mightier than we. And it is so.
I'm sorry, go ahead and read verse 10 too.
Okay. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it happen, in the event of war, that they also join our enemies and fight against us, and so go up out of the land. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, we see in this first chapter that the king or the Pharaoh that comes, which means great house, comes, and now he is intimidated because of the increase of Yasharal, because they have increased abundantly. They have gone, from the 70 that was there to a greater number in their people. Now, and also now Joseph has died, and all of his brethren and all that generation. So that generation has already expired. The generation that saw these things come to pass, and the generation that was fervent and was under or with, I won't say under, but that was working with the Pharaoh or that house before this Pharaoh. Excuse me. Now, if you have ever read in the scroll of Yasher, you find out that the reason why this Pharaoh became intimidated is because there was war, and some of the children of Yasharal had to go and fight, and it was really a small number of them. And they were able to defeat 300 men. And when this was seen, it was told the Pharaoh what had happened. And he said, look, this is a mighty people, and they are a wise people. And if war happens and they defect and go to somebody else, then what's going to happen is we're going to basically be at the losing point. We're going to lose this battle. So he then takes it within himself and says, now we've got to do this. But remember, this is prophecy. Yahuwah had already told Abraham that the children of Yasharal was going to go into bondage or go into captivity. So we're seeing what led up to that. He was intimidated by, number one, their ability to fight, small number, but fight, and also to see that they were able to get victory. So this is what brought about intimidation towards him. And he said, look, we can't let this go, because if they ever go and fight with somebody else, we're in trouble. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So it's important that we see this and understand this. And this is when he says household. Normally it would signify the ish, but here it is referring to the offspring. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So they increased, and the children of Yasharal were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. So you can understand, you go outside your porch and you look and say, wow, and remember, everything is always kept in a what? A record. How would he know they increased so mightily?
Right.
How would he know that the extents of them became mighty? They increased and multiplied extensively, because you have to understand they kept a record of everything. And so this is how they were able to determine that the children of Yasharal increased. Now watch this. There had to be a witness to witness that they increased mightily, and not just themselves.
Right.
To prove that what was said and done by the Abba was legitimate and it came to pass.
That's right.
So there were witnesses. And so they were intimidated by what was taking place. Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. And it says, and now there arose a new king over Mitzrayim who knew not Joseph. Now you got to understand when it says this now becomes king. Now in the beginning, when you looked at Pharaoh and you saw the term Pharaoh, Pharaoh means great house. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So when you look at it in the beginning, it represented not just an individual, but it represented the state or the position of the house.
Right.
And so now we start seeing terms like king. When you look at a king now does what? He dominates. He's the one that's over. Are you following me?
Yes.
The region and so forth. And so now, instead of them having a great house, they have a king. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Am I making sense?
Yes.
All right. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Yasharah are too many and too mighty for us. Intimidation. Now, let me say something to you all, especially us as the children of Yasharah. The moment we start increasing and the moment that our people began to truly act wisely, you're going to see the heat turned up even the more. See, you got to understand, there is a reason and a temperature that must be reached in order for things to truly begin to manifest itself. If anybody knows about cooking, in order to bake a cake, you bake a cake sometime at 350 to 375, but that oven has to get hot enough to where when that stuff is put in there, you put in there liquid and dough, and it comes out a solid, nice cake.
That's right.
So you have to understand something. It has to be heated up in order for it to produce what's put in there. Now, the reason I'm saying this because we should never get comfortable to where we become relaxed and we get off or we get off guard or we lose our focus.
That's right.
I was meditating the other morning and I was just thinking about that. When we tell people, we say, stay focused. There's something missing in that ingredient. What is it? No. When you tell somebody to stay focused, what's missing in that ingredient?
The direction of what to focus to.
Say it again, Jaden.
The direction of what to focus on.
Exactly. 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 When we tell people to stay focused, you have to give them an object or you have to give them what to focus on.
That's right.
It's an incomplete thought. It's an incomplete sentence. So what am I telling you to stay focused on or about? Stay focused on the Torah. Stay focused in his instructions. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Stay focused on building your life in him. Stay focused on building what he's putting your hands to build. Are you following me?
Yes.
We have to give direction and give what is to be focused on. And that's what I was meditating and thinking about. I said, sometimes we tell people stay focused, but we don't tell them what to stay focused on or focused about what. So that means we all over the place trying to figure out what to be focused on. We just like the little bird running around trying to find out, are you my mama? Are you my mama? Went to the fire truck, went to the bird, went to the dog, went all over the place. Are you my mama? Till finally he found his mama. Are you following me?
Yes.
So we've got to understand whenever instructions are given, let's never give partial instructions. Let's give full detailed instructions so that we can live a full life. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
And it is so.
It is so.
Very important for us to understand. All right. Now, verse 10, come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there befalleth us any war, they also join themselves unto our enemies and fight against us and get them up out of the land. Now, once again, you have to understand, for every cause, there's an effect, and for every effect, there is a cause.
Right.
What will cause them to believe and begin to doubt their alliance with Mitzrayim? What would make them feel that they would not be aligned with them and that they will go off and do something else? It is because what they saw also in that time as they fought in Yasher, they fought against one of their own, Mitzrayim, and they ended up slaying him. And it went back and it was told. And so this is why now this thought is in the head of the Pharaoh, which now calls himself the king, is that now, hey, if they're willing to fight us, they're supposed to be fighting with us, but then this happens and now they turn and they end up slaying one of us, then we need to deal with this. This is the same attitude. You have to understand that if we start fighting against one another, what will happen to us? If we start verbally fighting one another, even physically, because you have to understand words can turn physical. They can cause a situation to become physical. I know we don't always enjoy talking or alluding to these types of things, but it is important that we understand when we become aggressive towards one another in a verbal manner, you cause a whole lot of things to happen. And then when we start fighting among ourselves, now you're going to have different ones breaking off saying we won't fellowship with them, they won't fellowship with us. And now instead of us being pulled together, we're what? Pulled apart. And see, he became intimidated. So the thing of it is that though we may not all fellowship together, we are still responsible for protecting one another. Now, understand what I'm about to say. Just because we see a fault in our Cody or Ak, doesn't mean we allow the world and any other people to come in and take shots at them.
Right.
Remember, we are to protect them, not throw them to the wolves.
Right.
And because we correct them does not mean that we ought to open the door for everybody else to come in and throw pot shots.
Right.
Now we trying to whip them with the Torah and a switch. They coming in trying to use billy clubs and something that has nothing to do with our way of life. Mm-hmm. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So we have to be careful in how we do things, and we allow other people to come in and assassinate the character of our people and begin to talk down to our people or even about our people. Right. It's important that we understand that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Because the moment we start doing that, this is when it becomes what? A civil war. Civil wars are really never won because they go from generation to generation to generation to generation, because somebody else is going to pick it up and keep running with it. Right. So they are never really won. And it is so.
It is so.
All right. Verse 11.
Verse 11, and it reads, So the Mitzrayim assigned taskmasters over the Yasharites to oppress them with forced labor. They built Pithom and Ramses as supply cities for Pharaoh. But the more they oppressed them, the more they multiplied and spread, so that the Mitzrayim came to dread the Yasharites. They worked the Yasharites ruthlessly and made their lives bitter with difficult labor in brick and mortar and in all kinds of field work. They ruthlessly imposed all works on them. Then the king of Mitzrayim said to the Ibram midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah, when you help the Ibram women give birth, observe them as they deliver. If the child is a son, take his life, but if it's a daughter, she may live. The Ibram midwives, however, feared Yahuwah and did not do as the king of Mitzrayim had told them. They let the boys live. So the king of Mitzrayim summoned the midwives and asked them, Why have you done this and let the boys live? Verse 19, Then the midwives said to Pharaoh, The Ibram women are not like the Mitzrayim women, for they are vigorous and give birth before a midwife can get to them. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, it's important that we understand, just because you're given a command to do something that's going to harm your people, even if it's by a higher authority, doesn't mean that you have to obey that. This is where we have to trust Abba Yahuwah. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And this is very important for us as a people, because sometimes, when you talk to those of us, at times, our mentality is, well, man, if it come down to that, you just got to do whatever. No, we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to cover and protect one another. And they were willing to face the consequences that Pharaoh and his people would possibly try to inflict upon them. instead of falling in the hands of Abba Yahuwah. Because remember, they're increasing, and Abba Yahuwah is at the helm of their increase. And to get involved in that is to now try to fight against Abba Yahuwah. And so these things cannot happen. Is he okay?
Yes.
All right. All right. Now, they are intimidated because they are what? Growing. They are multiplying. Not only are they at large in number,
Right.
but they are wise. See, you can have a household full of people, but if wisdom is not at the helm of it, you're in trouble. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You're in trouble if wisdom is not at the helm of it. And you're just bringing forth, you're in trouble. It is important that we understand that not only were they multiplying, but also their wisdom was multiplying. So they weren't having a house full of ignorant people. Now, I know that may sound abrasive and harsh, but it is the truth. You can have a house full, or you can have a nation full of people that are ignorant.
Right.
And you are not intimidating anybody but yourself. But when you have a people that are smart and that have made up their mind and they are determined that they are going to walk in the truth of Abba Yahuwah, then yes, you will become intimidated by them. Why would you become intimidated by them? Because you understand these people are not just a large number, but their number, they have purpose, and they understand their mission, and they understand what they're supposed to do. Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. And this is what intimidated him. Now, taskmasters to seize the Yasharites for forced labor in the building of store cities for Pharaoh, and to conscript them in his domestic service. Now, let me show y'all something to show where he wanted to come, undo what Joseph did, and do it his way, but do it by force. Now, is that not what Joseph done under the old dynasty? He created storehouse. Because remember, in those 7 years of famine, they had to have a place to store what? The grain. They had to have a place to store all that money too. They had to have a place for when people were bringing their livestock in. They had to have a place to keep certain things. So it wasn't that these things were not in place. It was just this person of another dynasty decided he didn't want that blueprint. He didn't want that plan for his plan. He wanted another plan. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. Now, let me show you something about him just a little bit. He knew not Joseph. He deliberately ignored the benefits which Joseph had conferred on Mitzrayim. He was a different Pharaoh, from the one to whom Joseph had ministered. He was the same king, but he completely changed his policy. Pharaoh must have found Joseph's name in the national records, but he did not know that he was connected with the Ibra. So once again, you have to look at this, and even if you read in Yasher, you will find out also that there was a also a saying at that time that this was another Pharaoh who was not Mitzrayim, but he had come in the back door, so to speak. And as he came in and he basically took the position of Pharaoh. They basically nominated him to be their Pharaoh. Are you following me? Because remember, that generation of people, not just with the children of Yasharal died, but also that generation that was with Pharaoh also had died. So here it's almost like starting afresh, starting new. And he came in with his own agenda because he did not want to regard, are you following me?
Yes.
He did not want to regard what Joseph had done, which was also brought forth in prophecy. They took them by force, they afflicted them. To reduce the validity of the men, or vitality of the men, and lower the birth rate, the Yasharites would then be compelled to immigrate to other lands. What they were trying to do was force them out. Also, it is also recorded that they did this so that they would be so tired that they would not have time to spend with their Isha. You come in working about 13, say 12 hours realistically, 13 hours, 14 hours. Remember, Yahushua spoke of this, and everybody thinks that he's speaking about time. He's speaking about the work time in a day, how long people work in a day. Are you following me?
Yes.
So they had 12-hour work weeks, and then not only they have yom, but this is how they would work. Now, look at this in this respect. If you're working and you're working hard, and you are working about 11, 12 hours, because y'all know people work today 12, 14 hours a day. In a man, it lowers his sperm count. Now, follow me what I'm saying. I'm going to go kind of medical with you on this. So it wasn't that they were just doing something just to be doing something. You have to understand, he had scientists, he had people, he knew what he was thinking he was doing, and that was to make the men so tired that they could not produce. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Make them where they couldn't. You're too tired. Now, does that mean the women weren't working? Absolutely. I believe they had theirs too. But men that overwork and are exhausted and tired, your body, your whole body is tired.
Right.
Every part of your body. So if you cannot produce or you're too tired, then guess what? Childbirth is going to be low. So they thought. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
But when Yahuwah is at the helm of it, once again, man can't stop what he's doing.
That's right.
And instead of it doing the opposite, instead of it doing what they wanted it to do, it did the opposite. Because Yahuwah is the one that does what? Gives life and multiply. He does what?
Give life.
Say it again.
Give life.
Say it again.
Give life.
He gives life. And because he gives life, it didn't matter how tired they were.
That's right.
They still went in and did what? They still went in and connected and bonded with their Isha. And babies were still born. They were committed. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
The mindset here is this. And I'm going to take a sidebar real quick. Many times people use excuses, and this is one of the number one things also that can destroy a relationship, also a marriage. I'm too tired. I have a headache. I've worked all day long. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
I'm tired. You just don't understand. You need to have some compassion. You need to put your feet in my shoes. No, we need to come together and we need to make an agreement. We need to come together and first and foremost, we need to see why you're so tired. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Then second of all, we need to get you some vitamins. We need to get you some vitamin E, some pumpkin seeds, and some pecans and some walnuts. We need to get you some seeds or something. Are you following me?
Yes.
The reason I'm saying this is because you want to know why many times our population is at a decline. It is not because our people are really unhealthy. It is because we played into that game. I'm too tired. Really, it is. I'm too tired. I got a headache. I've worked 9 hours. I've worked 10 hours. I've been with the kids all day long. That's all you're thinking about. And understand the reason I'm bringing this out is because it's important that we understand we are the only ones that can either build or destroy our relationship.
That's right.
Nobody else can come in there and do that. You're the one. I'm the one that can do that. Are you following me?
Yes.
Nobody else can do that. Are y'all following me? And so it's important that we understand that they still made time. They made time. And you got to be willing to make that time. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
I'm not talking over anybody's head, am I?
No.
All right, just making sure. My baby sleep. So, are y'all following me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So they made time. Now, this is the whole reason why they did what they did. Pithom and Ramses. These cities were already in existence, but now they were adapted and fortified as store cities. So they went in and basically did a whole renovation. It's just like saying, oh, the house is built. Let's add a storeroom here, but it's already functional. I don't care. This is what I want you to add to it. Oh man, it already has a pool. I want you to extend the pool. In other words, he made up stuff for them to do. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
to keep them occupied and busy. Now, y'all know, many times when people talk about us, the first thing they say is all we do is have what? Babies. Now, you have to understand, you have some people out there, but we as a people, we produce. We do. My great grandmother had 14, I believe, 14 or 16, and she had 2 sets or 3 sets of twins. She had a set to die. Now you have to understand that passed down. My cousin had 9 or 10. I have 9. Actually, if Yahuwah would have allowed, we would have 13. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's not like we are not a fertile people. Many times it's what we put in our bodies. It is the air we breathe. It is the water we drink. And it is the food that we put in our bodies.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
We are, and we don't have to take drugs to do it. We don't. We don't have to take drugs to do it. We don't have to take fertility pills. We are a fertile people. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. But their whole goal was to bring them away. Verse 12. The more they multiplied, Yahuwah frustrated the attempts of the Mitzrayim to exterminate the Yashreelites. The literal translation is, so they multiplied as in the Yamim before the persecution began. So they were having children like crazy. Are y'all following me? Why?
Yes.
Because who was at the helm of it? Yahuwah. He was. So if it seems like we are not producing, and this is why folk want to go grab 3 and 4 women to try to bring that about, you out of order.
Right.
You are out of order. And people can talk all day long and say, well, no, they can have 3 and 4 wives. People do these things because they want to. That is not a command of Yahuwah. They were multiplying. Are you following me?
Yes.
Because Yahuwah was the one who was doing it. He is the one that opens and closes a womb. Now y'all know he does. Sarah was what, 99 when she had Isaac?
Yes.
She was way past her bearing age. She was 40 or some years past her bearing age. And she still had a son. And I'm persuaded she'd have had more if she would not have let the enemy catch her up.
Right.
So understand, once again, when Yahuwah is at the helm of it, he'll keep it going. He knows how to close a womb for a season, and then he knows how to reopen it.
Right.
He knows the anatomy of the body better than anybody else,
That's right.
because he is the one who created it.
Huh.
And it is so.
It is so.
And it is so. They were a dread. The verb can be derived from the root kuts, or cuts, to be weary. And then the meaning is that the Mitzrayim were weary of their own lives at the presence of the Yashreelites in their midst. Or from the noun katz, a thorn, meaning that the Yashreelites were unwelcome in the eyes of the Mitzrayim as thorns, because they were really great in number. And you have to understand something. Can you picture them? A Yapa people, beautiful, heavy melanated, walking around confident of who they were. Are y'all following me? Not
Yes.
raggedy and thrown away. Because you remember, as they multiplied, everything they had to what? Multiply. It covered they covered the land. We covered the land. So every time you saw a papa on Abba, you saw his son. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Or his bot. So everywhere they turned, they saw them. Watch this, and I'm persuaded. Not bickering, not fussing, not acting all crazy. And remember, these are all the what? 12 tribes, generations.
Right.
They wasn't on there fussing and brawling and acting dumb. They shared the land, and nobody was acting stupid. That's how come they were intimidated. Because when you see a people working together, that many people, are y'all following me?
Yes.
And they ain't acting all stupid. You know, you open up your door and say, oh, close that door. We might have to be getting down in a few minutes. Why? Because, child, they out there talking loud. They didn't see all that. They saw a people that was governed by unity and by the power of Abba Yahuwah. That is what intimidated them, not their possessions,
Right.
their unity.
Right.
And their willingness to walk in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
This is important for us to understand. Very important for us to understand. Because people will never be afraid of us as a people. This is why people at times laugh at us as a people. Because they say they can't get it together. Because you got those that are, and trust me, I'm not intimidated by anybody's wealth of knowledge. I'm not. You have those that are very smart, and they're what I would look at as the higher echelon. You have those that are like myself, that I say I'm in between. I'm not at the top or the bottom, but I'm in between. Are you following me?
Yes.
And you have those, and we're all trying to be that voice that he's called us to be in the wilderness, preparing the way for our people. But when you have those that allow their knowledge to become puffed up and haughty, and they become arrogant, and they become boastful in themselves, and they become proud, that causes problems.
Right. Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
That causes problems, because now when people look at us, and instead of them seeing us as a unit, they see us as a nation of individuals, and not as individuals building or a nation.
Right.
So this is not intimidating to anybody. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
That's not, because people look and say, how's that intimidating? You go, all we got to do is go talk to them, and they'll turn on them like at the flip of a switch. So if people do not see that we are a people that's willing to fight for one another, and not turn on one another, and not say malicious things about one another, and not question the validity of one another. Many times people don't understand. All of us don't have it like everybody. You got some people that do things, and they got the money at their fingertips to make stuff happen, and they do it. While some of us are still plowing and getting there. And then when people say, because our people don't do, you start thinking, before you say what our people don't do, you go to come to each one of our abodes, and then you tell me what we're not doing.
Right.
But until then, we need to be quiet on that. Because we say stuff we should not say. Our people, why not say we? You know, we ain't doing what our people ain't doing. Don't exclude yourself. Put yourself in there too.
Right.
That's right.
Are you following me? Very important for us to understand. We in this together, not y'all. And when y'all get right, we all get in it. No, we in it together. We like circus clowns in a little bitty car. Are you following me? We in it. We in it to win it, and we in it together.
Right.
So that means if they look at you retarded, they're gonna look at me retarded. Because guess what? I'm gonna be standing right there with you. Because we are a unit. We are a nation. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, some of y'all are gonna look at me crazy. All the camps are not bad. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All of them are not. Y'all know they're not. It's sad that those that are wrong put themselves in the position they do. But you have to understand something. As long as they carry the name of Yahshua, we can say what we're gonna say. But when anybody else comes in, that's when you need to open your mouth and tell them, you shut up.
Right.
Because it's not your business. This is a family thing, and you are not invited to this.
Right.
You be quiet. Because I guarantee you, you open your mouth about them, they're going to become a gang on you.
Mm-hmm.
People you didn't believe, and you thought you was Ace Coon Booms. They'll turn right around and tell you, but why you say that? And your people start thinking, oh, but I thought we was right here. I thought we was right here, and I thought we was close like that.
Right.
Start talking about their people.
Right.
You see how close you are. The bottom line is, once again, it's important for us to understand that there is a way that we are supposed to handle everything. And because we rebuke them and get on them doesn't mean that everybody else has a right to come in and take pot shots. That's important, because once again, when people see this, they look at us and say, they have no unity.
Right.
That's right.
They have no self-value. They don't even connect or protect their own. So we just go in and infiltrate them. We'll get them like that. And it ain't gonna take much. All you gotta do is go in there and say, hey, they stupid. Yeah, they are stupid. They're weak, they're ignorant. Yeah, they are weak and ignorant. And you understand, he talking about you too, or she talking about you too.
Right.
We never should exclude ourselves from these things. And it is so.
It is so.
Made to serve. The willingness of the Yashrualites to serve the Mitzrayim encouraged the latter to enslave them still further. When Pharaoh saw that the hardships he had inflicted failed to produce the desired effect, he encouraged his officials to impose still more rigorous measures. And that was where he said, now look, you have to understand, now they were watching them like hawks. That meant they was, okay, they're pregnant. Now we're going to put people in place to destroy the baby. You know what? That's the first place you see a partial abortion, where they wanted to present it. That lets you know it's evil.
Right.
And it's spawned of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you would wait there for that baby to be born to assassinate it. That's partial abortion. And to this young, it is legal in certain states. As long as all the baby ain't out, it's not it's okay. You start thinking, how crazy and cruel are you? So I guess that would be if somebody pulled you halfway out your car and murdered you, it'd be okay. Now, isn't it amazing? Let me take this sidebar real quick. That people can have diplomatic immunity as long as they stay in a vehicle or anything from their country.
Right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
They can declare diplomatic immunity. If they have a car with their license plates and it is from their country, they have a right to stay in that car. And if they commit any kind of crime from that car,
Yep.
they have diplomatic immunity. They will not be prosecuted.
Nope.
Because it is considered them still being in their land,
Yep.
in our land. How stupid that is. Are you following me?
Yes.
But a baby still in the body is considered, if you're halfway out, you're completely all the way out. And they can commit these heinous crimes. You see how the system is so horrible and demonic?
Yes.
These are things that ought not be. Are you following me?
Yes.
Ought not be. And so it's important that we see these things in their true nature, what was taking place. The Ibram Beforek, from the root ferak, to crush, implies that the Yashrualites were put to such rigorous labors as crushes the body and shatters. So once again, this is why they put them through such rigorous work. Because they wanted to what? Crush the body. If you crush the body, you can stop the process of life. Because without male and female, life cannot begin.
Right.
And this is why they did what they did. Once again, you have to understand the madness to their method. All this was strategically placed upon them because they didn't want them to multiply. Are y'all following me?
Yes. Yes.
So it's important that we understand even the devices of Shaitan. But Abba Yahu would not have us ignorant concerning the devices of Shaitan. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Of the adversary. The one that tries to come in and do all the stuff he wants to do. The main thing that the enemy does is always trying to bring in a ploy and put in a plot to do what? To disrupt the order of the Mishpachah. If he can destroy the patriarch and the matriarch, if he could destroy the Abba and the Ima, then he can break up that family and cause life not to start.
Right.
And this is what he does. Are you following me?
Yes.
That's why we can't play the fool, the fool and play into his devices. Because he's already mapped out what he's going to do.
Right.
He's already planned out how he's going to do it. Because he's watched us long enough to know the things that we'll fall for and the things that we won't fall for. So it's important that we be careful of what he does and how he tries to do it.
Right.
So he wanted to crush the body. Crush the body, you reduce the drive and the desire Now you stay away and watch this. No births happen. Are you following me?
Yes.
You can't even overwork an animal. You overwork an animal won't be able to function. And it's proof positive. That's why they have to do the wells the way they do them. Because under the pressure they are under, they cannot bring forth offspring. And the thing of it is, it's cruel because they have to manipulate them. They can't do like if they were out in the wild. If you notice, when they're out in the wild, they have plenty of babies around them. Now, ones I don't like because they are just, but they're the smartest things out there is them killer whales. But they're the smartest things out there. But they are the ones that they can keep in captivity. But keeping them in captivity, they can't breed. So they have to manipulate them in order to cause them to produce. And even then, the offspring don't last because they have to manipulate. It's not a natural process.
Right.
So that just tells you how nasty they are. And you would prefer to keep them in captivity and take away from them that what Abba Yahuwah has given to them to be able to produce and bring forth their own kind. You basically rob them and strip them of that. Though they're animals, you rob them and strip them of that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
What else have you see none of us out there, but you always see them out there. And guess what they always have on when they're in that water? What color? Black. Black. They're always out there. Because they're trying to tame them, and they're trying to basically have and they do, because they have to do this. I was watching a documentary on it. I mean, and this is why you see their dolphin fin bent over when they're in captivity. When they're not, it's like a shark in the water. That thing cuts water like a hot knife cutting butter. But this is what they do. So they have to manipulate. So once again, when you crush a body, whether it's an animal's body or whether it's a human body, you will manipulate and keep them from being able to bring forth. And they knew what they were doing like they know now. Are you following me?
Yes.
In the field, plowing and harvesting, in all their service. All this service made them serve, that is, in the cities. Ibram midwives. The midwives were Ibram women. They were the trusted midwives of the king, practicing in the capital of the country, and were the chief of all the midwives of Mitzrayim. So they went and took them, what we would call doulas, took them and put them in his capital, so that when the women was giving birth there, they knew how to deliver the babies, which tells me they didn't have any people qualified. That's why they had to use our people.
Right.
And if you notice, you have more of our doulas coming in, working with our people. Now, you always have them coming on the side trying to do. When I had my last two babies, the first one, Jalen, the midwives were great. Only I had no Hebrew midwives. I had one European lady. And to me personally, they were still doctors calling themselves midwives. The only thing they don't do is check you like a doctor does. Anywho. And that was it. But to have that experience, I didn't. But one thing is for sure, I ended up having Jalen natural. Not by choice, but because I was forced to, because they acted like doctors, but holding midwives' names or holding the title of a midwife.
Right.
But nowadays you see the doulas, and you see our people, Yapa chocolate faces, and you see our people being more involved in having natural births because it is the better way out, not in a negative sense. Now it's gonna hurt like crap, but it's better to hurt like that than to suffer years down the line because of the chemicals that are placed in your body.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
So the thing of it is, though, these ladies are well skilled and well qualified. Now you always have Becky, as one brother calls them, Becky, that always tries to get up in there and say, I'm gonna be a doula too. I'm gonna help to birth some of them babies. Y'all know what I want to say, but birth some of them babies so I could see them come into the world. We don't need them. We need our own.
Right.
Because our own knows how. Because you have to understand, when you're giving birth, you're giving out energy.
Right.
You become strong. You talk about Wonder Woman, you become one. Yes, you become strong. You become Wonder Woman. Yes, you do. And you need somebody there that understands your chemistry, understands your energy,
Right.
understands your passion, understands your melanin. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
When you don't have that in your corner, it can make you feel a little, you're trying to do, but you don't have anybody that's speaking to you. Are you following me?
Yes.
Talking with you. And when I got ready to have Jaden, I about knocked the lady over because she thinking she could do this thing and she was too weak. So my ish had to stand there and I had to put my foot on his hip. And he had to help bring the baby through. Because she couldn't do it. Are you following me? So you have to understand, once again, it's amazing. Thank you, Abba Yahuwah, for bringing me through things you brought me through. But once again, you all have a greater time because we have people that are now being able to practice freely. And I'm saying this to all mothers that will come to be. Take advantage of the skills and the ability that Abba Yahuwah has given to our people. Use them.
That's right.
That's what they're here for.
Yes.
That's what they're here for. Now, once again, I'm not telling you it's not going to be painful, but it's all worth it in the end.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
It's all worth it. But this is what they did. Now, once again, not to stray off of what I was saying, they had to be the best because he grabbed them up and had them in the capital and had them working for him. And in order for them to work for him, that meant they were the best of the best.
Right.
And he turned right around and sent them back to their own people thinking that he had them in his back pocket. Well, I didn't pay them. I didn't gave them a life. So now I'm sure I own them. So now they're going to go and commit murder because I said so. Now realizing you brought me in to work for you. I don't serve you or your deities. Are you following me?
Yes.
So I'm not going to succumb to your way. I'm not going to do that. I'm just doing it because, once again, you put me in this, but I'm going to stay following Abba Yahuwah. And it is so. All right. Shifra and Puah. According to a Talmudic tradition, they were Jochebed and Miriam, respectively. Could be. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Could be. Jochebed and Miriam. Because they really don't tell you what Miriam was doing while she was there.
Right.
Or Jochebed. You're the one. What was everybody doing? It is very possible that they could have been the midwives. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
It could be. And then it could be somebody else. A thought, though. Birth stool. A special seat for a woman in childbirth, termed elsewhere in scripture a mashper. So they had the seats, which to me is so much better than a bed. And I think it was King Henry III, wasn't it, the 13th? One of them old nasty ones. He wanted the women to lay on a bed with their legs strapped open. And that's where you have, when you go in and you see in the medical buildings, there's a glass up there and people stand up high and they're looking down on the person, because that was one of the things that he wanted. He would go, now these ain't his wives now, and he would stand up there and watch women give birth, because before that, midwives would do it, but then he changed the whole order and had women to be strapped down and have your legs strapped. And trust me, with my first son, I had to go through that, and that causes so much trauma to your body, because now it's like you're not giving birth. It's almost like you're about to be tortured. They strap your legs open, and I'm not trying to be graphic, but I'm just showing you the things that happen and that has happened to women that's in my age category. that went to the hospitals. And this is what they did. Then you all hooked up to machines, and you got all kind of IVs going through you, and you got monitors on you. Of course, you're gonna have monitors on you because they can put you in 100% stress mode because of all of these things. So this is why. But they have birthing stools, squatting stools, and if you look over in Africa, they still do that. They dig a hole, a nice size hole, and the women would hold the woman's arms up, and she would squat over the hole, and she would give birth, and the baby would drop down in the hole. And they would get the baby up, clean the baby, and do what needs to be done, and they would go on. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now we in a hospital, nastier than outdoors, because the hospital is the dirtiest place in the world. Don't ever think it's the cleanest place, because it's the dirtiest place in the world. That's where all the diseases and the sicknesses are, because that's where all the sick people go. Don't no well person go to the hospital. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Sick people go to the hospital. And so this is what happens. And so once again, these are the things that we as a people that Abba Yahu has given us back need to take advantage of it. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very important. All right. Kill him. The king, warned by his astrologers, schemed to safeguard himself against the birth of a child who might become the deliverer of the Yashuralites, secretly, so that it should not be known that the death was caused by violence. So that's why, because he had his soothsayers and his astrologers reading the stars and doing what they were doing. And then watch this. They knew, hey, you understand, it's always somebody that's going to rise up. Are you hearing me? History shows us. So we need to make sure that we keep this on the lockdown, especially the way they're giving birth. Somebody's going to be born that's going to be a deliverer. And they were right. Absolutely right. And so he wanted to do that. Now, you have to understand that the thing that is so amazing is that the young men were still being born. But guess what they were doing? They were still throwing them in the Nile for the alligators. Are you following me?
Yes.
They were still killing the baby boys, even though it was not at their hands. They still were killing them, and so there was still a horrible thing. Save the men children. The midwives made every effort to deliver the children safely and also help to keep them alive by providing them with food and drink. So they did what they could, and I'm sure that there were those that were safeguarded because Haran was there. Moshe, he was safeguarded. So I'm sure there were others that was safeguarded, that was tucked away. But Moshe was the one who was to be the deliverer of Yasharal. Because you can make me believe they didn't have some of them little underground tunnels leading to China where they had their babies down in there. I ain't killing my baby. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So I'm persuaded they did that as well. Excuse me. Why have you done this thing? The king not only censored the midwives for their breach of trust, but also for their deliberate contravention of his will by doing everything to preserve them alive. Verse 19, the Ibram women were themselves skilled as midwives in matters concerning the delivery of children. They possessed great vitality and were quick to be delivered of their children. So in other words, we will not be in labor long. One of the key things to not being in labor long is exercise and walking. And that's the truth. I know by experience. When you don't walk, like with my first son, I did not really exercise and do. It took me, I was in labor I was in labor for 2 days. When I first went in labor, I really didn't know I was in labor. I thought I was just hurting. I didn't have anybody to tell me, those are labor pains. So my stomach was hurting me so bad. I'm thinking, oh, I'm hurting. It never dawned on me. Oops, you're pregnant. You're gonna be having some pains. So it's time for this boy to be born. So I'm sitting there hurting, and I was hurting. So for 2 days I was hurting, and it really didn't dawn on me. I feel silly, but I was only 18. And I didn't realize I was in labor till the next day when I went into labor that morning. And though I was not walking in truth, I was a bona fide Christian. I went to bed and I was getting ready to go into a deep realm of sleep, and something shook me awake and told me to get up. And I got up and I woke up my ish, and I said, I believe it's time for this baby to be born. And so he went and told his grandmother, and she said, well, tell me what are the signs. And we told her the signs, and she said, yes, she's right. She needs to get to the hospital. So we get to the hospital, and every step I took, them labor pains was coming worse and worse and worse. I was hurting for 2 days. And I finally got there. But the thing of it is, once again, is when you're young and you really don't understand, these things happen. And so I was in labor that long time. With my second oldest son, because I had to have a C-section the first time, I had to have one a second time. I know I'm putting all my business out there, but I hope this helps somebody, because I have nothing to hide. I'm not ashamed of what I had to go through. But with my second son, I had to have a C-section because it was routine. But I went into labor so fast, and he was coming. They ended up giving me a C-section anyway. So I dilated, plus I had a C-section. So I ended up hemorrhaging. And so they had to give me all these medications to stop me from hemorrhaging. And so once again, we are a people because we walk, we exercise. Think about it. Our people walked everywhere they went, basically. And when you were pregnant, you really stayed off of animals, you walk. But walking helps to keep your body fit and keep you to when it's time, your body is already ready. And labor does not take long at all. Trust me.
Sure.
It does not. You could be in labor in 3 or 4 hours and boop, your baby there. So all the rest of my babies were quick labors and quick deliveries. So just wanted to encourage you once again to know these things. And many of us already know, but once again, just to encourage you to know these things.
Right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
All right. Let's read into chapter 2. Let's read verse 20 all the way to chapter 2, verse 10. Let's do read verse 10.
Shemot chapter 1, starting at verse 20. Therefore Yahuwah dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass because the midwives feared Yahuwah, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. Chapter 2, verse 1. And there went a man of the house of Lui, and took Isha, a daughter of Lui. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him, that he was a righteous child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to watch what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maids walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, and she said, because I drew him out of the water. And it is so.
And it is so. Now this is just, every time I read this, it just becomes just so much. It becomes the more real to me. To think about, now look what just happened. Because of their willingness to walk in obedience and not comply to his crazy self, to do with the children, Yahuwah dealt with them. and he rewarded them and he made them houses. In other words, he built them up. Now they were able to have a mishpachah of their own. Became founders of dynasties of priests, Levites, and kings. The subject of maid is Pharaoh. As a precautionary measure, the king detained the midwives in special houses so that they could not attend on the Ibram women. And he further commanded his people, every son that is born, ye shall cast into the river. Now you have to understand, this is something very heinous, because we can also can see that as being valid.
Right.
Because you can imagine they probably would have ended up losing their lives trying to save those babies. Mm-hmm. You out there and you seeing some fool, cast a baby into the water, and you trying to save as many as you can. So I believe that was also a way for Yahuwah to preserve their lives. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now listen, this is the thing. When we get into chapter 2, Pharaoh, this was not his name, but this was the title born by all, born, in other words, given to all, or carried by all Mitzrayim rulers, and he was a ruler of Mitzrayim. In chapter 2, we see that the Yashraelites resided in many cities, and the man went to another town for his Isha, which was still within that confined. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
His name was Amram for the solitude. Took to Isha. He had already married her several years, it says previously, as of the two brothers, Haran was the elder by 3 years. Miriam too was clearly much older than Moshe. Amram had parted from his Isha in order not to have children born to him in those troublous times. Wow. So he basically separated himself at that time. You have to understand, that's a hard. I got to get away from you, girl. Because the more I stay close to you, the more I want to be close to you. But urged by his daughter Miriam, he after a time returned to his Isha and made the occasion of their reunion a second ceremony of marriage. In the opinion of the Torah, does not here follow the chronological order, and the marriage took place before Pharaoh's decree about the killing of the male children. A daughter of Lewi. The word daughter, literally, that the woman was a daughter of Lewi, the son of Yaakov. As Amram was the son of Kehath and a grandson of Lewi, he consequently married his aunt. A degree of affinity later prohibited. At this marriage proved fruitful, it disposes of the contention of those who declared that the reason underlying the prohibition of near relatives is the danger of sterility. In other words, that he would be sterile, and she would not be able to produce. In other words, because the blood and I guess the DNA would be so close in resemblance that it wouldn't produce right, and it would basically almost, in a sense, cancel it out, and there wouldn't be no birth. The real reason is to render Yasharal Kadesh, and that is pure. A beautiful child. When Moshe was born, the house was filled with light, foreshadowing his future greatness. The word goodly is not to be taken literally, as all children are beautiful in the eyes of their Ima. As Moshe's Ima noted that her child possessed extraordinary spiritual beauty. She was confident that he was under special divine protection. Therefore, when she could no longer hide him, she was content to place him in the ark and the river. Now, isn't it amazing that the very place they were destroying the children would be a place that she would put him in and he would be rescued out of? Isn't it amazing also that the daughter of Pharaoh showed compassion, which tells me that she didn't have any compassion for the rest of the children? You follow what I'm saying? Because to me, on one hand, I thought, well, maybe she may not have known. But then on the other hand, there's no way she could not have known. But that this was a way that, she didn't have compassion on them because she didn't see them like she saw Moshe. And because the presence is, it is when you see the presence of truth and the truth on people, and you see the power of Yahuwah on a person, that makes them a Yapa person. Are you following me?
Yes.
Everything calm? And so it's important that we see that Yahuwah was in this as well. Somebody would probably ask, was Yahuwah in the deaths of those babies? Anything that happens doesn't happen haphazardly. Can we say it was punishment? We cannot say that. But we do know that there were certain things that said would come about. And this was one of the things that took place, and Pharaoh paid for it. Because in the end, not jumping ahead, because regardless, we're going to still get there, but in the end, all of their firstborn end up dying. Are you following me? So for every child they killed, guess what? They also paid for it. They paid for it dearly. So whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. They're going to reap it, and they did reap it. So once again, very important for us to understand these things. And so it's important. 3 months. Moshe, though born at 6 months, was a fully developed child. As the Mizraim authorities kept a record of Yasharite children about to be born, his mother could successfully conceal him for 3 months. This explanation is rejected by many who maintain that the birth was concealed as long as possible. So I believe that as well. I believe that he was born, because if not, they would have been at her door immediately, to say, okay, you had this baby born 3 months ago. Where is he? So I believe that her pregnancy was concealed. The birth of the baby was concealed as long as she could conceal him, and nobody knew. I believe that as well. You follow what I'm saying? And not adding to it. She could no longer hide him because the Mitzrayim neighbors would hear the baby crying. Bulrushes, being a flexible substance, they would offer resistance to the pressure of soft and hard materials. With slime and with pitch. The pitch was outside, that the child should not be troubled by its offensive smell. Her purpose was to render the ark completely waterproof, so it would be buoyant. It would show buoyancy, and it would float, and it would bounce and not sink. Flags. People walking along the bank would not be able to see the ark because it was screened by the bulrush. And by placing the ark at the side of the riverbank, Jochebed obeyed the letter of the king's decree while evading the spirit. Would be done to him. See if the child would be picked up as a foundling by a Mitzrayim. With the low state of morality in the country, fondlings must have been common there, and it would not necessarily be assumed that the child was a Hebrew. So basically taking a chance at the survival of the baby, and not willing to just say, okay, well, he's not going to live, so I'm just going to give it away. Are you following? But doing this. So it's important for us to see this, and it is so. Now, once again, you have to understand this is the divine plan of Abba Yahuwah. And the reason it's the divine plan of Abba Yahuwah, because she never asked, where did you come from, little girl? Like we would have done, we would have given her the 50 degree, we'd have given her the 50 degree, and the third degree, we would have taken it up 47 points. We'd have given her the 50 degree. What are you doing here, little girl? Why are you following this basket? What this baby do to you? And how you gonna go get somebody so fast? Right. We would have grilled her. We'd have grilled her till she fell over. But you have to understand, when Abba Yahuwah is in the midst of a plan, it won't fail. It can't fail.
That's right.
Because he's the one at the helm of it. And so she was able to go and get her Ema, and her Ema was able to nurse her baby brother. And so this is how it was able to be done. Now, according to this, it says that the Hebrew women, Moshe refused the milk of the Mitzrayim women. And so the word Alma expresses the thought that she hurried eagerly, and with vigor like a young woman. In other words, it's almost like they tried to nurse him, but because he refused the milk, because he had already been nursing from his Ema, that he would not take that. And you have to understand, all milk ain't created equal. That's why they would always pull our people and make them be midwives to European women milk, because their milk has no, from what has been told, and it has been scientifically proven, they lack the nutrients in their milk, and we don't. We are able to produce, if we take care of our bodies and eat right, our milk is better because of the way it is produced, but their bodies does not produce it right. That's how come they would always snatch our people and make them be their nurse maids or their wet nurses. And they would make them basically nurse their babies, and then our babies would end up nursing last. But you have to understand, when you can nurse two babies, that means you are a producer. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
You ain't got to have no bottles, and you ain't got to go through all that, and all them formulas are not great for babies at all. Anytime formulas can be contaminated with worms and viruses, and then a mother's milk is already warm, and it's already tempered. The temperature is already ready for the baby's body. You don't have to go through all them changes with heating it up, cooling it down, heating it up, cooling it down, making sure you put it in there. And one of the things that caused me to turn about 50 cartwheels is when I saw somebody go in and take some water out the sink faucet, put it in a bottle, and put some formula in it, shake it up, and stick it in the baby's mouth. I was like, what are you doing? Oh, we can do it like that now. I'm like, okay, it's not my baby. And you know, sometimes when you try to give a little advice to folk get real nasty with you. And I'm like, okay, my baby's 10 years old. Are you following me?
Yes.
And so, but you try to warn people, that gives a baby gas. Then that water is full of bacteria that a baby should not be ingesting. You need to have bottled water for that baby. Better than that, breast milk is the best because it has water in it. Are y'all following me? So the thing of it is, we were equipped to do everything we needed to do.
That's right.
And so he would not take that. And so she had to go and get her Ema. Take the Ibram word helikai is a compound of he, here, is, and lichi, thine. Unwittingly, Pharaoh's daughter acknowledged that the woman was the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take the child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, and said, because I drew him out of the water. So she paid her to do what she would do for free. But, you know, it's all right to get paid for doing what y'all hard to do. So once again, y'all have to understand, Yahuwah has a way that's so sweet about him. And when we really find that and we walk in that, then we're able to truly experience him in a great way. At this time, because it is 4, we are going to break so that we can take a lunch break. And we are going to come back for the conclusion of the matter. I pray that you will return with us because we have a lot more in store. Once again, keep your head up, keep your shoulders square, keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong when you walk in His truth. I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep you in His shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.
We will be back at 8:05. And it is so.
And it is so.